Thanks for listening to 107.7 The Truth. This is Brian in Heath Jackson's studio, and I want to tell you about a special 5K coming up. It is the Let It Shine 5K, and it's a memorial for Sims Vickers. And I actually happen to have Sims' mom, Anne Marie, with us today. How are you doing, Anne Marie?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
It's good to have you here. We're going to talk a little bit about the run in just a little bit, but maybe you can set this up. And I know it's always hard to talk about loss like this, but I'm sure that there are ways that you can bless our audience just by talking about your experience.
Well, first I want to say that my son, Sims, he had epilepsy, and epilepsy started when he was 7. And one of my favorite stories about him is we had been at Eggleston for several days. He had been in the hospital having seizures just repeatedly, and he'd been admitted, and we came home from the hospital, and he went to his room, and he came back out, and he said, "Mom, I have found my life verse." And I said, "Sims, that is so wonderful." And I thought it would be like, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, something that he knew. And he said, "It's Hebrews 2:13, Mom. I will put my trust in him." And it just touched my heart so much that this 9-year-old little boy who's going through so much came up with that life verse, and he lived by that life verse. I mean, when he'd have seizures and be to the point that he was like postictal, which means he just was sleeping all the time. When he'd wake up, he'd say, "Mom, I'm still putting my trust in God." So that's one thing I want to say about him before we get started.
Yeah.
His seizures started when he was 7, and they just progressed. And by the time he was 14, they were just kind of happening all the time. And we were missing a lot of school. We were on homebound, and he was very forgetful. He couldn't even remember names. He had very, very little short-term memory. When he got angry, he couldn't control it, and his impulsivity was just pretty much shot. He had traumatic brain injury, and he was diagnosed with that in October of 2021. And so we knew that he had a lot going on inside of him. But he did take his own life, and we know he's in the arms of Jesus. We know he's healed. He's forever healthy now. And he has no tears, and he has no pain that he was going through. He was just in such a painful situation. But it's very painful for us.
Yes, I'm sure.
Yes.
The grief is, I'm sure, overwhelming at times. Still, it's been
17 months.
17 months. And there are some people here in the community that not just wanting to help you with it. I'm sure you've had plenty of people who have come around you and supported you. Do you want to say anything about that process?
The grief process it's not linear at all. Like I always thought it was linear. It's like a ball of yarn. It's just all wrapped up, and it just, you never know how you're going to wake up. You never know how your afternoon's going to be. You never know when you're just going to burst into tears. But we go to First Baptist Church, and our church has rallied around us, and our friends have rallied around us, and they have been so strong and so supportive. I have 2 really good friends that have literally just sat with me in my grief and seen me just at a point that I never ever thought I'd be at. Like Job's friends at the beginning, they sat with me, and then Job's friends opened their mouths.
Right.
My friends didn't open their mouths.
Wow, that's amazing.
So,
Well, I'm so glad that you've had that, and whatever comfort that you've had, because I do know that grief process, it can sneak up on you even when you think you're past something. And
can.
Well, one of the things, though, that thanks to his friends, Sims' friends at the church, we're going to have a chance to remember Sims and do something in his honor. And the 5K, which is on September 23rd at Connect Stadium, that's 8 a.m. until 11 a.m. I want everybody to put that on their calendars, is actually a fundraiser. You want to talk about that just a little bit?
It's a fundraiser for the adolescence department of the Bradley Center. I think that is so important. Kids today, I mean, whether you have epilepsy and traumatic brain injury, or you're just going to school, it's so hard out there today.
Sure.
And I just think we need to be aware of how hard it is, how much pressure is put on our kids today. Social media has affected them. You know, I know when I was in high school, I didn't know all my friends spent the night together. I didn't see it on social media, and being the one left out sometimes can be so hard. And I just think we really need to be very present for our children right now and be very aware of their mental health. And this is what we're trying to call people to do.
Yeah, that's a wonderful thing. And actually, It was some of Sim's friends and his youth pastor that got all this going.
Yes.
You have to be proud.
So proud.
Of them, and also just to know that your son's kindness is what's bringing this out of them as well. Their friendship to him, their love for him. That has to be comforting to you as a mom.
It is, and he was very involved in the youth group. He loved First Baptist Youth Group. He loved his youth minister. We laugh because the Wednesday before he passed away, he was at church, and he was throwing the football from one end of the basketball court to the other end, trying to ring the other basketball goal.
Okay.
And he did it. And the youth minister put him on his shoulders, and they ran around in circles, and they were screaming and hooping and hollering, and it's a joyful memory.
That's great.
To see that. But he was a determined little boy. I have no doubt where he is. But I do want people to be aware of just what can go on inside their heads, these kids' heads, because it's so much more than just grades, and it's peer pressure. It's, the pressure of the world. It's the pressure to look the right part. It's the pressure. And kids are bullied.
It's so hard to deal with at that age. And yeah, so the fundraiser, again, is for the Adolescent Center at the Bradley Center. And people can get online to sign up at runsignup.com. You can register for the Let It Shine 5K, and just your ability to share about this, I know it's going to bless other people, Anne Marie. So I thank you for coming on and talking about it. I know it can't be easy.
No.
But how amazing it is to watch this community come around y'all. Yes. And to say, in his memory, in Sim's memory, we're going to do this. And to see young people like the person who came in, Abby, who came in and recorded the commercial, so motivated to do this. She put aside all shyness and all that and just did it because this is important to her. And that means that Sims was important to her. And it's a blessing to see even under these circumstances, I'm sure.
Yes, it is. It's touched our hearts that they've done this. And we've wanted to do everything we can to help support them.
Well, thank you for being my guest.
Thank you.
This is the Let It Shine 5K. And again, you can sign up at runsignup.com, September 23rd, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Connect Stadium. Get signed up. Tell other people about it. Bring your church group, your small group, your youth group. And let's do this together and raise awareness and funds for the Bradley Center's Adolescent Wing. Thank you for being here, Anne Marie.
Thank you.
We will get you back to the music in just a moment on 107.7 The Truth.